These are noises that you'll hear while playing F1 2015 from Codemaster Games, ported by Feral, built on the Ego Engine 3 that you can pick up for about 60 of whatever currency you use. I like Flubargs, because you can also spend them to play Roy at Blitz and Chits. It's pretty awesome. And what is it? Race like a champion in an F1 2015. A stunning new game engine and all new broadcast presentation puts you in the heart of the action. The fine folks at Feral sent us keys, so we're going to throw some chairs at some bucket seats, I guess. So let's kick it off. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that's awesome. We also got our categories: Oh Doom, mixed with working shiny sounds controls, and fun. So then, Morty, does F1 2015 does it make with the working?
We're going to actually have a interesting conversation between my octa-core versus Pedro's octa-core. But my octa-core is running the Ubuntu 1404 LTS box of business with a 980 displayed at 4K-ish. We call it UHD, 3840 by 2160. How does it run, though? Now, this is a game that, even on Windows, people have had valid complaints about. It's like, the performance is a bit shit, Brad. Not horrible, not unplayable, but a bit shit. But, you know, they were kind of really targeting the consoles back in the day. So, how does it run on the 8150? Overclocked at 4.0 gigahertz. It's a black edition, so yeah, I know. He's like, Vin, that's not really an overclock. And I was like, I know it's not. I can push it further.
Go deeper.
At 1080p, everything on high. I mean, I'm getting about 46. Everything on low, and that includes the other settings, you know, cutting off the anti-aliasing and all that business. About 48. Now, at 2160, 3840 by 2160, aka some people mistakenly call it 4K, it does manage to hover around 30-ish. There were some gaming blog things that was like, it's unplayable at that resolution. They just didn't know how to fucking play, bruh. In-game, I think Pedro might even bring this up. That benchmark that we're playing, lies and damn lies. I mean, it's not representative of what you actually get, because you're like, oh, 46, 48, that's horrible. In-game, it usually hovers, even with everything not on ultra but on high, between 50 and 60 FERPs, and sometimes, there are some times, you know, if you get a big crowd coming around, maybe it's raining, and all that business is happening, it'll dip into the low 30s, but all right, that's the thing. However, on the 8150, this is something Pedro and I are going to have to explain. You definitely want to check out the show notes if you're playing the home game, if you're listening on the audios, is it uses all 8 cores of my 8150, and they are pretty much, give or take, little as make no difference, about 45% on that. Then we talk about the GPU utilization. On my 980, running the latest NVIDIA beta drivers, 37% average GPU utilization. I mean, it can spike, it can go lower. However, I do need to make a note. Per Feral's recommendations, I'm not running 1604 LTS because I'm not a moron. I'm running 1404.
You waited until the .1.
Yeah, you wait till that .1, then you wait about 3 to 6 months after that. Then you think about it. And note 2, I did notice something a bit fucky with it. I mean, switching from 1080 to 1280, because I want to take the screenshot that you'll be able to see in the notes, it does something a bit sketchy. I mean, it just like slams in the upper left-hand corner without a border. And what really threw me off, because I was being lazy, I was like, I don't want to open up GIMP. I just opened up a terminal and like typed in FFmpeg command to record like, you know, a 3-second video to get a screenshot because I'm lazy. But I was using NVNC. It managed to disable that. But you give it a restart, everything works. Bob's your uncle. It's a bit brilliant. So, yeah, Feral, good job. 4 chairs.
Yeah, on the i7 6700K with the GTX 980. One thing I found odd is you're reporting a lot better performance at UHD than I got, because it was struggling to keep above 30 in game. But for 1080p with like everything cranked up to fucking ultra, I was getting on average, the lowest it dipped was 58 frames a second, and it was averaging about 65 to 70-ish.
Well, you were running
benchmark-
on that dual core Celeron, right?
Oh yeah, the single core Pentium P100, right? It's running at about 2 megahertz. No, this is an i7 at 4.1 gigahertz. Skylake,
Yep.
yeah. So until I hit that math bug, everything's running smoothly, getting on average about 69 FPS in the benchmarks. Everything looks fine, even with the rain, even with the whatnots. Just don't play it at 4K. But beyond that, 4 chairs.
Yeah, this is where things get interesting because
One thing to note. I was getting 100% GPU or 98% GPU engine utilization. I find that compared to Vens, so make it that.
yeah, because this is where this gets interesting. Ven's already hinted at it because I have an FX 8370E that's overclocked at 4.2 gigahertz and a GTX 970 Strix running Fedora 23, so also not running the recommended OS. But according to the benchmark, I got an average of 48 FERPs on low, medium, high, and ultra. It's on low, I got like 48.5, and on ultra, I got 47.9. So that benchmark is completely unreliable. When you actually get in game, you get around, at least for me, on the high preset, I was getting 55 to 60 FERPs on average. But looking at HTOP, it seems to peg 1 or 2 of my cores at around 50%, and all the other 6 hover around 20%.
And that's
it is
really
actually
interesting because we have our 2 separate screenshots, and
yeah,
and
it is using those other 6 cores. You can actually see the threads in the screenshot in HTOP, but it's like 20% at most. Some of those were even lower than that. And looking at the NVIDIA settings panel, the GPU utilization was actually hitting 100% at some points during races. If those 100% GPU utilization spikes are to be taken at face value, it would seem that this game is more GPU bound rather than CPU bound. So maybe I'm hitting the cap on the 970 on what it can do. Whatever the case is, it's very unoptimized because I have the recommended video card. 970 is actually what Feral recommends, and the performance is kind of bad. I'm not sure with whom the blame lies on this one. It might be on my end, it might be on Feral's end, hell, it might even be on Codemasters' end. So for me, it gets 3 chairs.
Yeah, one of the things I really hate about having the i7 is that the HTOP output is not representative of actual CPU consumption because it's not actually 8 cores. But anyways, that's 3 chairs for Makes with the Working. Up next to Shiny and Sounds. Ven, how did it shine? How did it sound?
you know, even on low, this critter looks like a bit of all right. It just does. But if you're not happy with that, what you can do is put it on high. But you might want to take caution, because you'll be too busy wiping off the rainbow barf from your monitor. Yeah, it looks that good. It's gorgeous. I don't care if you don't like racing. It's gorgeous. It looks so good. Now, then again, you know, I'm playing it on a 28-inch 4K UHD monitor. But here's the thing. I mean, this is what really convinced me. You know, when I'm laying rubber in the wet, I can smell the rain. I mean, that actually happened. And I mean, also, the game looks really nice when it's raining. I mean, sorry, I got a little sidetracked there, but
settle down, Daredevil.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, in the wet. That did happen. I mean, you get so focused. I mean, you're driving. I mean, you know, my brain organ kicks in and it's like, you're driving an F1 car that's like a $6 million car. It's like, oh, we got to be careful. But the AI doesn't feel that way. We'll talk about that later. Let's talk about the sounds. We've established it's gorgeous. Even on low, on fugly, this thing looks better than anything any racing sim ever created under Linux. And I'm sorry, send your hate mail to actually just go to Linux Gamecast, go to the contact. Let's talk about the sounds, because the only thing you're going to care about is, what does it sound like? The engine sounds, are they good? It's like, they're awesome. Cut them up to 11. Buy a stupidly overpriced pair of headphones for your ear pussies, and just enjoy that racket because the engine noise is fantastic. It's a little bit stereo. I like it. And the downshifts. Oh, from those 2-liter engines running at the amazing horsepower. It's like, oh. Can you tell I'm happy? Because 4 more
I
shares.
think you're going to have to wipe off a little more than rainbow barf. If you catch what I mean.
Fan's gonna need a new skirt.
Anyways, yeah, that's 4 skirts out of 4. No, it definitely does make with the pretty. I'm not that big into Formula One racing games. I'll get into that a lot more in the fun segment. So just you wait. But yeah, no, it definitely looks gorgeous. And I mean, you'd figure with all the licenses Codemaster gets for these cars and the drivers and all the companies and whatnot, it comes with that big fucking warning label that says, if you do not make these look pretty as shit, we'll sue you. And so so Codemasters takes that as, well, we like printing money. So yeah, it definitely makes it pretty. No issues there. And I mean, as for sounds, I don't watch any F1, so my only real exposure to that is, say, that one episode of Archer where they're at the Monaco Grand Prix in Iron Man 2, and it sounds like the noises those cars make in those things. So I guess that's good enough for me. 4 chairs.
Yeah, well, we're on the sounds. Oh, look, it's a Codemasters game where I can actually mute those goddamn annoying announcer, because there is only one Codemasters announcer, and it's always stupidly fucking annoying. But they let me mute it on this one. Bonus chair. Music, well, you have music in the menu, and it's elevator music grade at best. But in a game which is very clearly aiming at the Sims subgenre of racing games, that's fine. I can deal with that. Where the sounds really shine, and Ben already kind of drooled all over this one, is in the car engine noise. You can actually judge how fast you're going and what gear you're in when you're trying to slow down to enter a turn by just the noise that the engine is making. It's that good. Tire noise is also really subtle, but the moment your tires start degrading, you can also very clearly hear the difference if you're paying attention. The weather effects are really well done, and as boring as F1 cars are to look at, in my opinion, that is, they are really well modeled and look really pretty from all camera angles. Even anisotropic filtering was working wonders in this game. So for me, 4 chairs.
All right, so that is 4 chairs for the shiny and the sounds. Up next is Control. Then, did you feel like you were driving an F1 car while playing this game?
Well, in all fairness, I mean, the X-Clone controller is basically roughly the size of an F1 racing wheel, at least the grip.
It's also wheel-shaped, right?
But it has far less buttons, and that's kind of an important thing that we need to talk about. When I first launched this, it was like, okay, we were thinking about Grid Autosport, and I was like, oh, that's a little bit of arcadey bits, and I was like, maybe this will have that. So I didn't bother with any of the settings. I was like, okay, let's just put it on herp derp mode, because if we were playing it with a controller, I would have been controlling a $6 million car with a controller. Brilliant. About 3 seconds after that, I really wanted a wheel with flappy paddle shifters. I was like, I want to be able to shift, because doing it with controllers, it was nonsensical. It couldn't happen. But that leads to a problem, Brad. It genuinely does, because unfortunately, steering wheels with the flappy paddles, those lead to foot pedals. And pedals, they lead to proper shifters. And proper shifters actually lead to life-size Antonio Banderas blow-up dolls with realistic genitalia.
Antonio Banderas is the path to the dark side.
It does happen. However, if you put this in herp derp mode and you don't play online, it is absolutely serviceable with the X-Clone, but that's just going to make you angry. You're like, oh, I could play this a lot better if I could shift normally like I do in my car and all that business. More to that point, Cody Cooper, shout out, what's up, asked me, as soon as we got the copies of this game, he was like, is this a wheel game? And, I was like, yeah, I think so. But after a few additional arns into this, I can absolutely double down on my initial comment of, yep. But, don't worry about that. Go to Ferrell's web zone. They have a list of supported wheels. I mean, Thrust Cockmaster 9000 YOLO 2010 might not be supported, but most of the average ones are. But I will give you this pro tip. More like a fun tip, actually. Don't even think about cutting off all the assist using a controller. just don't. Actually, do it. Do it. Because it's not infuriating, impossible. It's infuriating. It's LOL impossible. I mean, you're just laughing. You're like, all right, okay, got it. Fine. So, I mean, even with that handicap, I'm still going to give it 3 chairs.
I mean, it works reasonably well with the Areola controller and the PlayStation 4 controller. Now, this is one of these types of situations in which I can't really comment on the controls because I don't know whether this is necessarily a shortcoming in the controls or I'm just really bad at this game. It's probably a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Yeah.
I of course you can't just fucking drive and gun it. You have to periodically brake and whatnot. I'd give this 4 chairs just from the fact that everything is sanely mapped on the controller, but I do get Xbox prompts on my PlayStation 4 controller. And guys, Ethan figured this out and he's like considerably paid less than you guys at Feral. So where's your excuse? Especially when he upstreams this shit to SDL as well. I do agree with Ben though. This really does scream the need for a proper cockpit setup with panorama monitors or an HTC Vive or something like that. Because otherwise, I feel it feels kind of dumb just sitting on my ball with the controller going. And funnily enough, these two mentioned it, and I wasn't even aware of it. There are configurable assists for the controller, and upon discovering that, I realized that there was actually an even more retarded mode for people who can't play racing games, and I straight up enabled it because I still can't play racing games. So I'll give it 3 chairs.
Yeah, no, Feral has the controls down, it seems, because both the Logitech F310 and the Mistress, they work great, both of them. It's really great to play with the areolas because thanks to the haptic feedback, you can actually get a really good feel of how far you're turning the wheels by just feeling the teeny tiny vibrations on your fingers. Yeah. And I hit the microphone arm.
Take a shot.
Yeah, go SDL2, go Feral, but like Ben already mentioned, this is very much a wheel and pedals type game, especially if you want to turn off the assists. And if you've ever tried regulating the throttle with this teeny tiny nub on the Logitech F310 or your usual Xbox style controllers, yeah, that's not going to happen. It's really, really bad. So yeah, since I don't really have a wheel anymore, and it's an F1 game, but we'll get to that. 3 chairs.
All right, that's 3 chairs for controls. Ven, did you have fun playing this game?
I'm going to be short and succinct with this. This game. Now, I think Feral did, let's say, a B+ on the board. Okay. Now, Feral does have a good reputation of going back and improving things too, like Tomb Raider and XCOM. Going to give it to you in business like that. So I'm expecting a bit of performance boost, but this one might be a bit more dodgy because it didn't really run very well under Windows, kind of like Company of Heroes. So I started this, it's got mixed reviews, current reviews, past reviews, and all that. When I first read about, just going through that, about the AI just like straight up running you off the track for fuck and all reason, it's like, all right, that is just BS, man. That's 12-year-olds that don't know how to drive or Canadian Jordans in Toronto. Turns out it's not.
All those.
Oh, no. And if you're watching the produced version, you can actually see the AI doing that to me at one point.
And speaking of that AI, I mean, if you're at the end of a race, not the end of a lap, an end of a race, you know, and I'm doing like 3-lap races because I'm lazy, and also a racist. Racist? Does that work?
Go, speed racist.
Well, I mean, I like racing. That AI at the end of the lap, it doesn't matter what position you're in either. I was like, I'm coming in a strong 6, and you got a little indication. You better cut them off and block them, or they're non-existent. Knight Rider turbo boost button will be pressed. And he's like, but then you're going to adjust the fuel. But it doesn't work like that in this game. But they go whoosh. It's like, oh. Then that's when I got to stop. That's when I got to get up. I got to walk top stairs deck and just get away from anything breakable because I get invested even in 3 laps. I mean, the game is that engaging. Having a good time with it, but that needs to be fixed. And a lot of people are like, well, 2016 fixed that. And a lot of people, 2014 got it right. And this one was a horrible one. I don't know. I didn't get to play the previous one. Maybe we'll get to play the latter one. Because I do believe Phil did a good enough job on this one to justify getting the 2016 from Codemasters. So, you know, for fun, I'm going to give this 2 chairs with an asteroid.
Now, Ven, so when you start the game up, there's that menu that pops up that says, do you want to use the 2014 mode or the 2015 mode? Does that actually like use the 2014 game, or is it just using all the models and assets and data from that?
Ding, 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 ding.
All last one. Yes.
The latter. Just thought I'd clarify that. So, I mean, ultimately, the fun segment here boils down to, I don't like Formula 1 racing. I think it's boring. I get that the cars go fast and sometimes they explode. Doesn't really do anything for me. I mean, as I continue playing the game, sure, you get better. And my time trials got better, and I figured out how to actually steer the damn cars. And, you know, and while playing against bots, I would actually not go into last right off the bat. It would probably be about 3/4 of the way through the track before everyone just bypasses me. But I'm not having fun, and that's why I play games, right? I like to have experiences that are memorable and enjoyable and engaging. And I mean, is the game competently done? Yes, very, very much so. If I were a Formula 1 fan, I might actually be interested in playing this game, but I'm not, and so that's the best you're getting out of me. 1 chair.
Yeah, of the racing genre, I think Formula 1 games have always been those I never really got into. I'm not entirely sure why. It could be because of the way Formula 1 cars behave in real world is often not accurately portrayed in video games. It could be because of the idea of racing quote-unquote street cars is more appealing to me than cars designed specifically.
You're racing rocket ships, dude.
Yeah,
I'd play that game 100%.
Yeah.
You can.
But the whole idea of racing quote-unquote street cars is more appealing to me than, you know, stuff specifically designed for a track and with all the custom stuff that actually prevents them from just taking off. Because if a Formula 1 car didn't have all that wind tunnel tuning done to them, they'd just fly out. I did play a bunch of Need for Speed World and Wine before EA nuked the servers, and I loved that game. Although, I really do like racing games as well, and those aren't exactly street legal cars either. With F1 2015 specifically, I don't like how the AI will pit maneuver you out of first place if they only so much as touch you. It's exactly what you'll be able to see in the produced version of the review. I was in first place, and Hamilton, the AI Hamilton, was right behind me, and
not
I went from first place to 12th place. No, I don't really like to play sim type games with a controller, even if it's the mistress. Full credit to Valve for actually figuring out how to do haptic feedback properly. But I don't really like playing sim-type games with a controller, and I really don't like the lack of performance on display. Maybe it's on my end, maybe it's just capping out the 970 and it can't go any higher than that, but I doubt it. And yeah, I guess I'm really not the target audience for this game. That's probably for damn sure. 1 chair.
All right, so that's 1 chair for fun. We tally all this nonsense up, and we get 2 whole chairs for F1. Final thoughts? F1 more like FU.
F1
Am I
with
right?
an asteroid.
Yes. Two chairs with an asteroid.
Asterisk,
Yeah.
whatever.
It looks, F1 2015 looks very good. And once you mute the Codemasters racing game announcer for There Is Only One, it's a really good sounding game too. It's just too bad you have to experience it with shoddy performance and a cheating AI.
Well, I guess what you got to think about, I mean, if you have a supported racing wheel, plus a love of F1 sims, and don't mind that cheating bastard AI, definitely give it a look. It's a bit pricey. It's a bit mixed, and I think the biggest issue of it being mixed is kind of our experience of not having a proper racing setup. This game is made for that. With the controller, I mean, don't even think about going online. Just don't. I will say this. It's hands down the best racing sim on Linux right now. Oh,
Winning by default.
Project Cars. Wait, no, that doesn't happen. And you're going to talk about torques and all this other stuff. Argue that point with me, but, hate mail's coming up next, and we'll tell you how to get in touch with us so we can argue that point. What I do want, gentlemen and ladies, boys and girls, I want this game with a Vive, with wheels and pedals and one of those hydraulic move-around chair thingies. And if you pulled me out of that setup, you would be the king of England.
All right. Well, British drivers notwithstanding, that is the review of F1.